Well, hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on Chihayafuru, episode 36, or aka episode 11 of season 2. And yeah, the tournament's going great. It's just there's lots of turmoil between Arata and Shinobu, Chihaya, Taichi. The mangaka's just like, oh, do you like stress? And I'm like, no, not really. So I'm going to be honest with you all. I have waited until the last minute to record this episode for this week because for Onoda, they did not have a comment for the poem interpretation for this last week. So I was like, oh no. So I think this happened before. So hopefully if For Onoda gets some interpretations to the poems, I will catch up with those in future reactions. I'm scheduled to record this following episode like in a couple days after I can check comments for episodes 9, episodes 10. So we'll see, but in any case, I do have some comments I want to bring up before we dive into this episode, so pardon the lengthy intro. The first comment I want to talk about, these comments are all kind of tied together. 3 of them are actually from the same individual, but one of them was from Bear P. Pratt for episode 8 of season 2, saying, "The twist I loved was brought up by Nishida. Their opponents were free, not tied by the usual tactics of competitive Karuta. They played however they liked. Karuta, like almost every game in sport, has a competitive meta where there are strategies and tactics used a lot, not because it's mandatory, but because those have been tested and they're just happen to be better in general. This, of course, is good for those who want to become the best, giving them, for example, the opportunity to study how to position cards and so on. But at the same time, it can restrain a bit because you have to follow this to become better. There's not a lot of places for experimenting." So they note that when Nishida talks about that, he wasn't like, oh, these are amateurs who don't know how to play. He said they're free, and I value that a lot. It's an interesting thing to bring up since we're used to seeing these weird or quirky characters, but at the end of the day, their card placement strategies might be more or less known. So yeah, I think that's interesting. I mean, because we've talked about how we're deconstructing Suo and Shinobu and their practices and Arata and Taichi and everybody. So I do like the idea of it being brought up that experimenting and kind of going against the grain, while it inhibits you a little bit because you aren't necessarily mastering the basics, it's giving you a little bit more freedom to do what you want as a player. So I'm going to be curious to see what we take from this moving on, especially with Chihaya, who's been trying to figure out like what is her strategy. Right now she's trying to mix Shinobu and Suo, but is that really her jam, or is she just trying, like Chihaya is experimenting. She's taking the basics, but it'll be curious to see what she ends up doing with it, right? And so then we also have, going into this, a couple comments about, because I haven't looked at the comments for episodes 10 and 9 on YouTube and Patreon yet. I know that I've been such a grump about Taichi, and I've been very like adamant about that. So I'm going to be curious what those comments are. But this person had several different comments. The first comment that I want to point out was with episode 19 of season 1, because they've been going back and leaving comments from previous episodes saying, "Chihaya, stop giving mixed signals. They're Japanese high schoolers, and in Japan, they respect the distance and are not very touchy-feely. So in most shoujos, we celebrate after a couple hundred chapters when the main couple holds hands. And here we have Chihaya always hugging Taichi, resting her head on his shoulders, placing his head on hers. I mean, I wouldn't say it always happens, but it happens a lot in season 1. They're way too comfortable and they need to learn some boundaries." I mean, Taichi tried to set some boundaries back at his house, but then he was weird about it. And then he didn't do it right. And then he didn't go with the boundaries. So he was like just overthinking things. Taichi overthink, whoever would have thought. So yeah, but I mean, I'm from America, so my Western perspective is, oh, that's just normal. That's stuff that friends do. And so I feel like Chihaya is not sending mixed signals to me. And I think, here's the thing. I don't think she's sending mixed signals because I think Taichi knows that she's just being friendly, because he thinks that she likes Arata. So he thinks that he's being friend zoned by her. He knows she's not sending mixed signals. He just thinks that it's not helping his fact that he likes her. That's making him feel more conflicted. But Taichi's smart enough to know she's not sending mixed signals. He knows that she's just being friendly with him. It's just driving him crazy, or at least it was back in season 1. So then there are these two comments. One is from episode 4 of season 2, and one is from episode 10 of season 1. And I'm going to talk about the episode 4 of season 2 one first, saying this comment was saying, one thing that people don't give enough credit to Chihaya and that Sumire noticed is Chihaya pays more attention to Taichi than people realize. From her reflection on the car that both she and Taichi were always under pressure, to making her first priority making Taichi Class A, to her jumping over Desu-kun's desk to give Taichi a towel the moment he speaks up, despite her being in the zone. Yeah, we talked about that. Everyone in the team knows Taichi is selfless to a fault, so they're relieved and happy when he finally asks something for himself, like when he asks to practice with Shiranami Society or even just for a towel. Taichi is so used to being the one to be relied upon, he has trouble relying upon others. In the first season, Chihaya couldn't even buy train tickets by herself. And Taichi is an older brother and the president, so he's very protective. He does give off older brother vibes, but I've talked in the past, like, there's a way to go about being someone's partner and being protective, and then there's a way where that kind of gets warped and you come across more like a brother. And I think, unfortunately, Taichi's not very good at flirting, and he's not good at expressing romantically, so he's coming across as a brother and a friend, and it's confusing Chihaya, and I don't blame her for being confused, because I would be as well. So yeah, that's why Chihaya never minds when Taichi is overbearing with her. I don't know, she has a few expressions in the last couple episodes that I was like, I think she's a little concerned, because she's always aware he's coming from a place of good, and because she knows he'll always be there for her, it allows her to strive for her own dreams and be selfish. So Chihaya also needs to mature and grow outside of Taichi's dependency. Here's the thing, I do respectfully disagree with part of that, because I don't think she's depending on Taichi. I think that there's aspects he helps her with because he's being nice, but Chihaya was the one to get his shit in gear in this last episode where he's spiraling. And she's shown of being a place of support for him. So I don't care for this Chihaya needs to mature angle. I'm like, I don't think she does. I think she's being herself, and Taichi needs to get his head out of his ass, is what I think. That's just my opinion, but I don't think that she needs to mature so much as Taichi needs to get a freaking grip. And so then that relates to this comment from episode 10 of season 1. Belong in this context is kind of different than in an American context, which in American is more individualist and more property-driven society. I won't disagree with you there. I will not disagree with you there at all. In English, belong seems more related to ownership and possession. I would agree with that. As an English teacher, can vouch. However, in a community-driven society like in Japan and in my country as well, belonging is more related to being part of a whole. In Chihaya, for example, Chihayafuru, Chihaya feels like she belongs to the club and the club belongs to her. So she has to protect it and take responsibility for it. What's lost in translation is when he says Chihaya belongs to him and Arata, he means she's equally important to both of them. And they're also equally important to her, like a gentleman's agreement to put their friendship above all. I'll not make a move and you'll not make a move. Yeah, so I really appreciate that sentiment. I agree with that. I think the thing for me is Chihaya is not really interested in either Arata or Taichi right now. They're all friends. She wants them to just play Karuta and be together. And I love that for her. And I don't think Arata is really after Chihaya as well. I think right now he's just got to deal with the fact that he kind of has come to the realization that he misses them and wants to be on a team with them. Taichi's the one who has executively made a decision that he does not want to just be friends with Chihaya anymore. He loves her and he romantically is interested in her. But there's all these barriers and boundaries that he either is not comfortable with crossing or that are in his way. But my issue with him right now is he's not It's like you either need to communicate that you like her and make a move, or you need to back off and say, I'm not going to worry about dating her right now. I'm going to worry about myself, improve myself. And then maybe down the road, we'll revisit that idea. You got to make a move. You got to make that decision. And I relate to Taichi because there's been people that I've had a crush on that I've liked, but I have realized in my head, I'm like, this isn't going to work out for X, Y, and Z reasons. And my options were either communicate it or back off. And I've backed off before. I've communicated and backed off, and there's pros and cons to both. But I miss season. I was going back looking through some of their comments, and I honestly miss season 1. I am enjoying season 2 a lot, and we're only halfway through. We're not even halfway through season 2 yet. We're not even halfway through. But I guess in terms of Taichi and Chihaya, I miss their dynamic from season 1 because it was so like pure and innocent and like friendly, and everybody was like having a great time. And now the more that Taichi's fallen in love with her, the more toxic it's kind of become because he's not communicating that to her. So how is she supposed to know that he's being weird and pushing her away instead of letting her in like he was in season 1? And it's really uncomfortable at times. And I'm like, and I just want to shake him gently, but shake him and be like, stop messing around. You're screwing it up for yourself. You know? So anyway, I'm going to be interested to see what the reactions for the last couple episodes were, but I'll get to those when we get to episode 37. So anyway, I appreciate everybody's comments. Oh my God, I've talked for 10 minutes, 11 minutes now. So thank you all for that. I'm super excited to dive into this episode and see just what we get. So we're going to start episode 11 of season 2 of Chihayafuru. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Well, okay. There's a lot of tea to spill with this episode here. We went on like a little roller coaster event in this. I feel like, man, I'm getting good at telling which teams we're going to steamroll past in this series. Because poor Shoyo, they didn't even get like 5 minutes of screen time. It was like, no, the moment they all looked the same and they weren't either the champion team or the team with Megumu, I was like, oh, we're going to breeze past this one. Because it's been very clear that we were going to face the team with Megumu because Chihaya facing someone that's faced Yumi and possibly could face Shinobu. That has to happen in this episode. And then here's my prediction. Hokuo was not going to beat the championship team. No. That encounter between Tsutomu and the guy that looks like Annie from Attack on Titan, but is not Annie from Attack on Titan, they are going to face off. There's going to be a confrontation there. I guarantee it. Maybe not between those two specifically, but there's going to be a confrontation with Mizusawa and the championship team. Now, will Mizusawa win? I don't think so, but I think they're going to face him in the finals, but I don't know if they're going to win or not. I think that it's going to be a hard battle. That one, I have no clue how it will go, right? I have no clue how that will go, but if anything, we've made it further than we made last year. Last year, we didn't make it as far because of Chihaya fainting, so this year, we've made it quite further, so that's good to know. We've made it to the semifinals already. I assume that we're going to make it to the finals. I think that we'll be able to beat them. The question is going to be if Chihaya is going to beat their ace and if that's going to affect her mentality going into the final. That's going to be the question, right? That's going to be the question. So we'll just have to see on that. But then we have the individual match for the rest of this season, so crazy times, right? I feel like this season is 25 episodes. So I feel like we're going to get at least 2. I know there's a recap episode coming up in episode 16. I feel like we're going to get to the end of the tournament by episode 16. So I'm doing a little bit of spoilery guesswork on if we're going to make it to the finals. I think we will, because I don't think this one match is going to take 4 episodes. But I feel like we'll get to the finals. Now, whether we win or not, I have no freaking clue. I don't think they'll win the finals, but I could be wrong. Stranger things have happened. And then I think the rest of the season will be the individuals matches. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so I want to talk about Nishida. Oh my gosh, Nishida. I would say, honestly, Nishida has been such a hard character for me. Of all of the characters, I would argue maybe Nishida for a while was my least favorite, just because, and I'm not talking shade against Nishida, I like him as a character. Of the main crew, I'm not going to count Sumire and Scuba. Scuba's probably, if I had to guess, if I had to rank them, I hate having to rank them, I would put Scuba towards the bottom only because we've not seen him do a lot of character growth yet. Scuba hasn't had a lot of character growth, so he'd be probably my least favorite character of the 7, but that's being super nitpicky because I like all of them. But Scuba's down the bottom right now for me just only because he hasn't had a lot of character development. right? I can't hate Kana. Kana is impossible to hate, so she's like right in the middle. I honestly like Sumire. I think she's grown a lot already, even though she's kind of hit a little stagnant wall right now. She doesn't feel like she's good enough to play, so I'm going to put her maybe next up. But for a while, Nishida was my least favorite of the OG 5, only because he does not think things through. He is like the opposite of Taichi. Taichi overthinks everything within an inch of its life and questions every possible angle things could happen upon. Nishida just says whatever comes to his mind and then immediately is like, oh, did I say that? And it's like, yeah, you did. So Nishida always has been like I've celebrated Nishida when he's done really well because I like him getting good character moments. But then there's other times I'm like, Nishida, why did you do that? Why did you say that? He has a great moment with Chihaya at the end of this episode, which was needed because I was kind of ticked off at him at the beginning of this because he starts out the episode saying, I think we should use the same members we've been using for the next match, which has not been Tsutomu. Tsutomu and Sumire have been gathering data. So he's like, I don't think we should use Tsutomu. I think we should use what we've been doing for the next match. And everybody's like, okay, I think we should go without Desutomu-kun. What Nishida was trying to do was to use a reverse psychology and be like, well, if I tell Tsutomu not to play, he's going to fight and fight to play. And then I'm going to be like, okay. And that's going to, I'm just like, no. Damn it. If I'd been their coach, I would have gone, stop it. I wouldn't have actually smacked a student. I would never do that. But I would metaphorically go up and go, what are you doing? I would like gently shake and be like, what? Tsutomu has been out busting his balls to gather data for y'all. He can't help it, y'all suck at scouting. He has to do it all himself. Sumire's in the wings doing the best she can. But I'm like, he's been out there working so hard to help you. Don't demean his efforts just because you want him to play. Here's a novel concept. Just tell him you want to play. You want him to play. I was like, between him and Taichi not being able to just say what is on their freaking minds, I'm like, just say what you need to say. I'm like, just tell him you want him to play. Quit beating around the bush. Quit assuming. Because you know what happens when you assume? You make an ass out of you and me. I'm just like, stop it. And then the Empress comes in. She's like, what is going on? What has happened? And so Chihaya's like, well, why is that, Porky? And they're like, why would you say that? I like that Kana stands up for Tsutomu. She's like, it makes sense for Tsutomu to play in the playoffs. She's like, he'll be more useful than Scuba, who's exhausted. And Scuba's like, what did I do? What F my drag? And apparently, though, it said bingo, so he was getting tired. There you go. She's like, why would you say that? And then Tsutomu's like, no, I'm fine with it. He's like, our next opponent is Shoyo. Here's the thing. Nishida, you've known this kid for a year. Did you not think that maybe... I know he thinks that Tsutomu is smart and maybe can read between the lines, but you're a blunt person, Nishida. Now's not the time to start waxing philosophical. You've been a blunt object thrown at everything throughout this entire series. You can't start trying to use psychology now. That's not gonna work. He's like, I was watching Fujisaki's match, so I don't have much information on them. Here we go. He's like, I talked to the team that they beat and I found out. And then he's like, well, why? Then Nishido's like, why won't you speak up? And Tsutomu's like, well, because my friend that, should probably tell me that I should play told me not to. So I was feeling kind of down about that. I want to grab Taichi and Nishida sometimes. And I want to just kick him in the balls and be like, what are you doing? He's like, why aren't you asking to be a starter? And I get what Nishida is going for. I get it. I get that he's like, we worked so hard together. Why are you just, the first years have taken some pressure off of us. He's like, but why aren't you fighting? You can't stop fighting to play. And again, Nishida and Taichi are the projection kings. They are like, we're going to project so much of our own insecurity and anxiety onto you, even if you didn't ask for it. And it's like, what the fudge? So I feel for Nishida, and we get this little flashback of him, of people pushing him to play. And he's like, once you've lost that drive, you'll start to lose your edge. And I'm like, and Nishida gets emotional. And I feel for Nishida getting emotional on Tsutomu's behalf, but he just handled it horribly. Like, he did not handle it right at all. And that's because Nishida doesn't think things out enough. Taichi thinks things out too much. Nishida doesn't think things out enough. It's like we're looking for Goldilocks here and the three bears. And Taichi and Nishida are some of the bears, right? He's like, well, I'll let the prez decide. But then that's a terrible idea because Taichi overthinks everything. So he's not the one that really needs to decide here. And I like that they're like, okay, this isn't the mood we want before playoffs. What should I do? And then Chihaya's like, I got this. Let me take this. We need somebody that's going to act right now. She's like, okay. And then the Empress is like, I should be more proactive. She's like, you guys, she's like, you guys haven't eaten lunch yet. We only have 30 minutes. She's like, I need to be more proactive as their advisor. The advisor is supposed to decide on what order to use. And then she says Ayase can only be counted on to play in matches. Well, apparently she doesn't the F not because she makes a great decision in this. I'm baffled by how much, maybe it's the translation, but that line, Ayase can only be counted on to play in matches. I'm like, so is she just chopped liver? Is Ayase just a tool and she has no rights and no intelligence? I am floored that the main character gets dragged so much in this series, not by her opponents, but by her own damn team. I'm like, what the fudge? So she actually comes out with an amazing idea. She's like, hey, Tsutomu's clearly exhausted. He's been running around like ragged trying to get us this information. We'll go with what we've been doing, let him rest, and then move on. I'm like, wow, that's actually a good strategy. Amazing that Chihaya could come up with it. I'm like, I'm not surprised. She's actually a lot more insightful than people give her credit for. And I'm waiting for her to get her damn flowers because her own team has not given her it as of late. It is mind-boggling how much they doubt her. And it even comes across in the comments. People are like, well, she's got a lot to do. I'm like, are we watching the same show? Maybe I'm just so much of a stan for her but I get it. I'm like, I want to give her flowers. I feel like Dr. Harada defending her constantly. So as soon as Nishida ordered from Bobby's mom on King of the Hill, it's the lunch lady. She looks a lot like her. It's weird. But as soon as Nishida kept ordering all the food, I'm like, well, you're not going to be much help this match, but we don't find out who wins and loses, so it's fine either way. And I get Nishida not wanting Tsutomu to drift into a supporting role. I get that, but I feel like Chihaya had a pretty good strategy, which here's the thing. Nishida wouldn't know about the strategy because he ran off to the cafeteria and ate 10 plates of food. So he would not know. And so I'm like, I don't want to hear anything from Nishida. If he gets on to Chihaya, I don't want to hear a damn word because you ran away instead of sticking around and being a damn teammate. The coach in me wants to come out and just shake him a little bit. Also, of course, it's his sister standing over there. His sister's the most identifiable character in this series. You could not confuse her with anybody else ever. And Chihaya's like, we gotta go. The match is gonna start. We don't have time to talk strategy. Why are we in the cafeteria? We're going with the same group we did before. And so the thing is that Nishida gets mad at Tsutomu for no reason. Tsutomu has you weren't there. You didn't see what was going on. And Tsutomu tries to give him some advice and he blows him off. And I'm like, we're all lucky that Chihaya and Tsutomu are saints who can deal with this kind of thing. Because if my teammates were treating me like they treat Chihaya and Tsutomu sometimes, I would be pissed. I would be so pressed. I would be very communicative of why that's not okay. So yeah, and I've been that way on teams before, where if people treat people like shit, I'm like, oh no, we're going to shut that down. So I just, it's something else. So we face Shoyo High School. Fujisaki, meanwhile, I kind of like that Fujisaki's in the white shirts with black lettering, being the polar opposite of Shoyo. Shoyo's the least memorable, easily run through team. Fujisaki's probably going to be a memorable team. I'm just going to say they're probably going to be memorable. They're going to probably be in the championship drive. Why would they not be? So yeah. And then of course we have, wow, Oh, I wore primary colors because I was thinking of Arata, Taichi, and Chihaya, and they're like the primary colors on here. Taichi is clearly yellow. Chihaya, well, Taichi might be red, Arata might be blue, and Chihaya might be yellow because she's like the sun. So, yeah, but I just noticed that you had Shoyo in black, you had Fujisaki in white, you have Hokuo in red, you have Mizuzawa in blue, and then you have Megumu's team in yellow, the primary colors, and black and white. Look at you. Look at you. Fun color theory times, right? So yeah, what do they say that is it a coincidence that all of their faces resemble ancient officials in textbooks? That's really funny. So we find out that they're connected to the team. This is where Shinobu is from. Well, they wouldn't wear Snowmaru shirts, so that's why she wouldn't join. Clearly. And plus, they seem kind of amateur, so I could see why Shinobu would be like, not wasting my time. So she's like, you should get some rest while you eat something. He did look like, Tsutomu looked a little more pale than usual, and then he just passes the F out, you know, as one expects. So this reader for this episode, I was not a fan. I was not a fan of this reader. Usually the readers, I'm like, oh, they have a beautiful voice. This guy that read for this episode, he kind of had a nasally voice. It was more nasally. It was like, and now we're doing... It just didn't sound as melodic as some of the other readers. I don't know. I almost thought they were even going to make a plot point about it, but then they don't at all. So yeah. And so Nishida actually starts to get in his head thinking that these guys are like Shinobu. And I'm like, to Chihaya's credit, Chihaya would know better. She'd be like, these guys, Shinobu? Have you ever played Shinobu? Psh, no way, man. So he starts to get worried about it. Nishida does. He's saying this is bad, very bad. Again, Nishida doesn't think things through sometimes. He jumps to solid conclusions. So I'm glad he actually thought through later on in this match. That was good. Poor Tsutomu passes out. I love the gentle taking of the onigiri that the Empress does. That was really sweet. I loved that. And then she leaves Sumeri to watch over him. And she's like, I wanted to watch the match. She's like, well, you need to rest too. So yeah, so Chihaya's like, wow, he's really fast. She's like, but it's okay. She's like, I'm going to stay calm. Chihaya's been doing great this whole tournament. She's been doing wonderful. This girl has not gotten her flowers. Everybody's like, you need to focus on winning. You need to win. You need to do this. I'm like, has anybody told Chihaya she's been doing great? Nobody? No teammates telling her she's doing a good job? Just me? Okay, cool. Like, give this bitch her flowers. She's like, well, let them rest. And then they're like, what? She's like, Dr. Harada once taught me. I love that she says this, that you shouldn't concentrate on watching the other people play a match before your own match begins. You'll be exhausted. It's more tiring to closely watch a match than to play. And I do like that the Empress kind of like moves in her like spot, like, oh, you thought of this, Chihaya? And I'm like, yeah, girl's not an idiot. Yeah. And she's like, after seeing this, I know. She's like, Tsutomu is much more tired than the rest of us. So I'm leaving him out. Girl shows such compassion, knowledge, understanding of the game, insight. I'm going to give her flowers for it because she clearly is showing she's a great thinker in this situation and nobody else is recognizing her for it. Damn. Meanwhile, while Nishida is freaking out, he's like, he has these sporadic bursts of speed, and he thinks he's really good, but then he remembers his name, and Tsutomu's like, he's just guessing. He's just picking something. He's looking like he's impressive, but he's not really that impressive. And it takes Nishida like a solid 2 minutes to figure out what that means. And I'm like, oh my God, Nishida. Nishida! He's like, he's gambling. His card will be red. I'm like, yes, that's what guessing implies. So then we get, I love Kana in this where she realizes that the one guy stands up a lot and she's like, are you going to keep standing up? Like, girl, use your feminine wiles. Make him sit down. I love it. She looked great in this moment. I loved that. Meanwhile, I like that Scuba stands his ground. That is one thing that I've been waiting for, and I'm glad Nishida has that heart-to-heart with Chihaya towards the end. I'm glad he does that. That's really good. We're going to talk about it when we get to it. But I have been waiting for somebody on Chihaya's team to stand their ground on a card. And he's like, you and I both know that I had that. I'm like, hell yeah, Scuba. Thank you. I would love to see Scuba against Yumi. That would be a lot of fun because I'd love to see him argue with her, being like, "But you didn't get the card." And I need somebody to talk back against Yumi, and I feel like Scuba could be the one to do it. I want to see that at some point. That would be a dream match. My crack dream match right now is Scuba versus Yumi. I want to see it. Let it happen, please. It probably will never happen, but I want it. And yeah, I never thought that Data could be so important. But she's like, then we have the whacker. My mind went straight to the gutter. He whacks the tatami when he practices his swing, does he now? Does he? I love it. She's like, it takes a lot for him to gather this information from the team, especially from a team that just lost their match. Like, Chihaya, I'm glad Chihaya says it. I'm glad Chihaya speaks her mind and recognizes Tsutomu and all the work that he put in. Because, yeah, that took a lot of guts to go next to them and, like, gather all the intel. And him mumbling, being like, please. Tsutomu's so cute. I love him. He's amazing. He's like, I like that Sumeri breaks the fourth wall, saying she can't recognize if he's awake or not because of his glasses, because in the anime you can't see through them. But then, yeah, she's like, you're so good at gathering data that doesn't matter if you don't play. And then, yeah, he's like, well, it's hard to play in a match. And she's like, oh, I know, right? He's like, it's hard and scary. But I got nervous when Porky called me out. Because I feel like, I mean, in that moment, Tsutomu was like, I was scared. And I thought that he's like, I was kind of running away. And so, yeah, I was being called out. But, I'm sure this show will turn it around and make it a good thing that Nishida lost his cool and called him out and saying it's like, it got Tsutomu to realize things. But honestly, what it tells me is that these guys need to be better at scouting so that Tsutomu won't be pressured to have to get all the intel and let one of you all do it. I mean, they're never going to substitute Chihaya and Nishida and Taichi out because they're their main three cannons. But, let Scuba and Hana get good at recording, I do love that Nishida comes out and says that they won. That was really cute. I love that. And he's like, are you playing in the next match, right? Yes, tell him. Tell him. He's like, you're playing in the next match, right? You're going to join us, right? I love that. That's so cute. See, I am glad that he says that. Like, I'm glad Nishida realized it and he comes running towards them and Sumeri is like, what are we doing? I like the Scuba and Sumeri on either side, like, what are we doing? Like, it's so cute. And it makes up for it when we see this montage of them all coming together. We want you with us as a player. I do love that. Like, that makes up for Nishida being a boob at the beginning of the episode. It makes up for it with them all. He's like, you should always be a player with us. Like say that out loud, Nishida. Say that out loud to him. Really. Like, that's so cute. I love that. And the shot of them all gathered together, like with Chihaya in the center and Tsutomu with them. Like, that was really sweet. I love that. So yeah. Meanwhile, Arata has to write an essay. I love that they are making Arata write an essay on why he has done wrong. They're not going to, of course, this series is not going to let him go see Chihaya and Taichi. They're going to wait till the individuals match because of course they are. Because why would they not? Honestly, though, it's probably better that Arata has to sit this out because if he had been around and it would have thrown Taichi off at the very least. And so it's probably better that he's not there. But honestly, he's like, it's my fault you have to write the essay. And he's like, no, I should apologize. And then he's like, and those pants and that phone. He is letting her use everything that's his. She's literally wearing his clothes. Like, Shinobu is literally wearing his clothes, sitting there on his phone. Look, I know some of you may ship Arata and Shinobu. All ships are valid. I am not going to dismiss that ship. My only concern with this ship is that she looks like she would eat Arata for lunch. Like, Shinobu looks like she's way too aggressive for Arata. I don't know. I don't know if Arata needs a woman that's as aggressive as Shinobu. She seems like she would just eat his lunch up and boss him around, and I don't want that for Arata. So I don't know if I can ship them yet, just based on how their dynamic is so far. But Arata would literally give you the clothes off his back no matter who you were. So let's be real, right? Oh my God. And they're like, it's no big deal. The one guy's like, you're so generous. Also, she's on his phone. What is she doing on his phone? Is she going to be texting Chihaya? If Shinobu texts Chihaya under Arata's phone, that's insane. I hope that doesn't happen. Or I don't know what she's doing. And they're like, what was your objective today, Wataya-kun? His objective was to see his friends. And they're like, well, we're not going to let you have that objective. That's your punishment. Go back in the back room and write an essay of apology. They're like, there. Our conscience is clear. You'll get to compete in the individuals match, but you won't get to do what you wanted to. And so here we are. And they're like, are you working hard? There won't be any more events today. One page should be enough, right? I don't even know what Shinobu is doing on that damn phone, but that concerns me. Like, she's like, oh, there's no more events today. Oh, can't they push back the individual tournament a day? Okay, so I was like, what is Shinobu doing on his phone? She was looking up more flyer events to go see. Girl, my neurodivergent queen, girl. I was like, damn, girl, no. She's like, well, let's just push back the whole tournament. Like, quality over quantity. He's like, it seems like I only ever run into them during matches. I agree with one commenter that we were talking about every character in this series has a flaw they need to be working on. Arata's thing he needs to be working on. He's very mysterious. We don't see a lot of Arata, so we can't pick him apart like we can Chihaya and Taichi and Nishida and everybody else. But one thing Arata does need to work on is he needs to talk to his friends. If he's like, man, I only seem to run into them during matches. Well, bitch, schedule a time when they can come see you. I know you don't have a lot of money, so Arata can't really travel a lot because his parents be poor and Arata has a job. But Taichi's loaded and Chihaya's parents would let her go. So just call them up and have them come down, see you in your Karuta society, and just have a wingding. Like, you know, you need to talk to your friends. Talk to them on the phone. The thing that you're letting this girl from Kyoto have, you know. Anyway, so we're down to the top 4. Which is our seeds 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so our opponent will be the first Akashi girls. I feel like it's like the girls group from Troop 44, Troop 77 from Dodgeball. Our biggest obstacle is 3rd year, Aosaka Megumu. And then Chihaya's like, who's that? Now here's my thing. I feel for Chihaya, again, y'all will say that I am giving her free flags. But listen to me. As someone who works and sees a lot of people every day, I am a face person. I am not a name person. I wouldn't have known who that was, even if I'd seen him in the last round. Taichi's saying, does she have the mind of an infant? Smooth. Total boyfriend material. You should keep those sayings up. That'll get him. I'm like, no. It's like, since she was the West representative in last year's Queen match, didn't you watch Yumi's match? And she's like, oh yeah, Yumi. Yeah, I faced her. I wanted Chihaya to be like, oh, well, she lost, so why would I care? You know, I wanted her to come back with something. Bite them back, girl. Bite them back. She got close to Yumi-san. The strongest girl in Western Japan. And then she's like, oh, yeah, I want to play her now. Then she gets to be like Goku, you know. Their match was in a different area. I honestly, what I love about Sumire and Tsutomu is that Nishida doesn't understand because, again, Nishida doesn't think things through. So Nishida doesn't get how Sumire's notes could be helpful. But what I love about Tsutomu, and I have the utmost respect for him, is that he is inclusive of Sumire. And he's like, well, here's what we can tell about her notes. These other girls don't matter. Megumu matters. So yeah, so they basically, he breaks down her notes, which I really liked. He's like, you were very observant. He's like, we can tell that they're going to be good at love poems. They have emphasis on that. Yubei is boyish with simple taste. She might place more emphasis on sound. I mean, these are all assumptions, but they're, you know, something nonetheless. And as for their order, they've stuck with the same order. Yubei, Hayasaka, Osaka, Nanase, and Tanimura. Which, to be honest, their players are class A and B. I wouldn't shake a stick at that. They had this big thing of, do they look down on us and that's why they don't change their order? But I'll be honest, I really think that they just don't care, right? They just don't care. And we talked about this in a previous episode where in situations like this where you're ranking people and you're ordering matchups, the rank itself doesn't matter. In the long run, not really. Now, if you were doing like last year where they had 2 Class D players, 2 Class Bs, and a Class A, yeah, in that situation, the rank matters. But at this point where they're all about the same rank, the ranking doesn't matter. It's your reaction to it. It's how you take that ranking. So if you're up against their ace, are you going to get flustered or are they going to be like, whatever? So, I mean, I don't think they're doing it. I think that that's a tactic in itself to not change the order because it's going to, one, possibly psych out their opponents like it does with Tsutomu and Taichi into thinking that they're not worthy of them changing up the order. Or two, kind of being like, oh, wow, they have so much faith in themselves. They don't see the need to change the order. So, yeah. And so, I mean, Taichi knows immediately. To give Taichi credit, he recognizes immediately that Chihaya wants to face the ace. She wants to face the strong opponent. And it takes all Chihaya can to wrap her head and be like, I'll face the B-ranked player for the team. Like, she gets herself psyched out. She's like, put me in the second position and I'll end up against a Class B player, which Chihaya's thinking that this is our best chance to win. She just wants to be the best in Japan. And Taichi's like, okay, we'll go with that. If you really want to win, here's my advice. I love this moment with Nishida, though, for all of the grief that I have given Nishida, for all the hell I've given him, when he like crouches down beside her and says at the end of our match against Hokuo, you surrendered a card because you both touched it at the same time and you didn't fight for it. And he says, you cannot give up when it's close. I do love that because I think he is right. She did give up. That was one of my criticisms of her in that match, is that she should have fought for it. And he's like, don't give up when it's close. If you want to win, fight for every card. I love that. I love that. I was like, that makes up for a lot of what Nishida does in this episode for him being so like on it with her. And then the moment Retro-kun was like, we're going to have a repeat of the Tokyo Regional Finals, the moment he said that and Taichi was like, I was like, Taichi's not going to do that. Taichi's going to change that order. He's going to be inspired by Retro-kun and be like, wow, remember how Retro-kun didn't take the easy way out? We're not going to either. He's like, we're going to put her in that third spot and face her up against the ace. Yep. And I like that there's this victory for Fujisaki, like the one crew. And then to get Pseudo for a hot second before they sat down, I thought it was Arata for a hot second. I thought Arata had gotten his shirt back from Shinobu and was going to sit down, but then it was Pseudo. And I was like, that makes more sense. But Pseudo holding up the victories flat sign, he's just like, I love him looking directly at the team like, what? I'm holding this. Do good. Now, the one moment that I get a little worried for Chihaya is her looking over at the Omi Jingu Learning Center and seeing that this is the place where they're going to do the individual matches. She's like, she gets a little starry-eyed and a little reminiscent of her and Shinobu playing against each other. And Taichi, for a hot second, he has the Taichi no eyes bangs that make me nervous. And I'm like, Taichi, don't do it. Don't you say something stupid. And then he gets everybody together and he's like, I'm going to put Chihaya in the number 3 position, which I like it. I think that Taichi's like, look, I want Chihaya to be ready to face those in the finals. So I'm going to put her in the first spot. Hokuo went with an even matchup across the board. Do we really want to dodge our opponents? Chihaya, you just have to win. And Taichi's like, bring home the win. And she's like, okay. And I kind of love that. I love that Taichi, I love Taichi's fierceness in this moment. When Taichi commits and communicates, he's really good. He's really good at that. When he commits and communicates, he's like, look, Chihaya, I'm putting you in the spot because I have faith in you. You just have to win. That's great. Good. More of that, please. More of that, Mr. Leader. So, yeah. And then I love that Sumeri looks down at the guys crouching taking the photos and she's like, oh, God. So, anyway. And, of course, but in the meantime, Taichi and Tsutomu, even though they gave that stirring speech, they both kind of are hoping that the order will change. But I'm like, I don't think you should bank on it being because they don't think you're good enough. They literally just have faith in their ace, right? They literally just have faith in their ace. And Tsutomu's like, do they not respect us? And it's not that. It's not that. Yep. So Kamino is going to play in this one against that one. Yep. Or perhaps they just have all this faith in their ace that they'll win. I mean, why wouldn't you? She got to the finals of the Queen match. Why would you not have faith in your third-year teammate? You know? Whoo! So, yeah, this match is going to be roughsville, y'all. Because here's the thing. I feel like if they make it to the finals, that's not going to be the crazy match. I don't know. It could be the crazy match because I think they're going to face Fujisaki. I think Fujisaki is going to beat Hokuo. I think that Retro-kun jinxed it. But I feel like this match is going to be tough because it's pressure on Chihaya, who hasn't been told about winning yet. She's been just kind of let loose to do her own thing. And it's going to be against somebody that's on par with Yumi. So there's competition for her for the queen. And then it's going to be a frustrating set of episodes. I'm sure it will. Anyway, I'm going to be checking the comments for episodes 9 and 10 on YouTube and Patreon here before I watch episode 12 of season 2. But I'm probably not wait. I've waited till like the last minute to record this episode, so I'm probably not going to wait that long to record episode 12. So, because I really want to see what's going to go down this match. So we'll see. But anyway. Anyway, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. Look, I give these characters a hard time because I love them and I want them to grow. So, but I do worry about Arata. I'm like, do not let Shinobu run off with your things. Anyway, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Chihayafuru.